r/datingoverforty. Fraggle Rockchick says, nice guys finish last? I just met and started dating an incredible man. To be fair, because it's so new, perhaps calling him incredible is premature. I've never been treated so well. He's very kind with a very healthy positive mindset. He's a successful business owner, doesn't drink or smoke or do drugs. He's divorced 6 years from a 15-year marriage where his wife cheated on him. He's put himself through therapy and really done the work. I have toxic dating patterns. One might even suggest I've been stuck in a self-sabotage loop for a few years now. At least I'm self-aware. I go after hot and heavy chemistry hoping the guy has it all together, usually finding they don't, or we're just incompatible in other important ways, and end it. I don't even know if I can give a direct answer about what I want, or what I'm looking for. I've told him all of that. We've had fantastic conversations, where he is very present, and listens and gives thoughtful feedback. We both agree I need more therapy. Lol, I'm starting to feel emotionally vulnerable with him, and this is something I've struggled with in the past where I then shut down, and have trouble communicating. So this is good. The kicker is, I'm not feeling like I want to jump his bones yet. And I kinda live for that feeling. We've been taking things very slow, hugs and a peck on the lips here and there. It's not my norm. But where has my norm gotten me? I guess what I'm wondering is, has anyone had a slow moving start that turned into something hotter as time went on? I really want to give this one a chance, but I think he deserves someone that wants to rip his clothes off, and I want to feel that towards someone. He jokes with me that maybe, if he was a loser or an idiot, that I'd want him more. Cause girls always go after the bad boy. It's like a sickness. Ugh. Suni Ice says, if you're an alcoholic, of course some perfectly clean and healthy water feels boring. Fluffshut says, this statement hits me for my life in general. I'm trying to drastically cut back on my drinking, but I like how it gives me something to do and shuts my brain off for the most part. I really get bored when I'm not enjoying some tales. Some Axe Dude says, I'd encourage you to invest more energy into making your life more interesting, instead of trying to escape the boredom problem with alcohol. It took me a lot of introspection after my divorce to realize I didn't have a bad marriage, because I occasionally drank too much once every 3 to 6 months. I drank too much on occasion to escape the reality of a bad marriage. Once it ended, and I felt free to build my life the way I wanted it, the desire to drink at all pretty much vanished. And I wasn't a heavy drinker by any conventional yardstick. Gog says, think of it like this, if your type was correct then you wouldn't be single. You're attracted to your trauma. And when you start to actually go into something healthy it can feel a lot more boring. But it's because you're not feeding those synapses of intense highs and lows, so they're like, wait, WTF is going on, this is boring. They're ultimately wrong for where you want to go, and your job as the /observer/ is to get your body, brain, and soul all going in the right direction that you've decided. Which in this case sounds like something healthier. Stability can feel boring when you've been feeding these overstimulations. So take this. Confusion as a sign of going down a different path. It may ultimately not be right with this guy, but you're giving your body a chance to relearn what that connection looks and feels like. And the worst case is that you'll be experiencing something new, and the best case is a phenomenal one where you're in a healthy and happy thing. The weird thing is, once you've gone down some of these other paths, your old paths don't quite work anymore. It's like knowing what the warmth of a nice fire feels like, and then stepping into some colder areas. You can just tell it's not for you any. Boris says, this is great, I wanted to add that right now I'm reading the book PTSD from Surviving to Thriving, and the author writes about this. They call it a good enough partner and an earned healthy human relationship. I'm in the same kind of situation now, and it feels weird and boring. And I'm like, why am I not more excited? And this is exactly why, because I'm not having extreme highs and lows. But this is actually what a healthy relationship feels like. I just have to keep reminding myself lol boring is good. He's stable and solid. Uninvited West 2024 says, nice guys do not generally finish last. Nice guys that are not just nice, but also good, generally end up in healthy and happy relationships with good women. But, nice guys do indeed finish last with traumatized women that did not do the work to identify their trauma and are caught in destructive patterns. I've also found that some women, trauma or not, are simply hedonists and thrill seekers. They chose their partners without any concerns for morals. Their main criteria for a relationship is hot and passionate sex, and they don't give a frick about anything else. My best friend is like that. There's no problem with that. It's all about what are your values. Brilliant Force 3082 says, I found that healthy seems boring after toxic. You become addicted to trauma, the highs and lows. As much as we say we don't like the uncertainty, it's a chemical reaction. Chasing the high of a macup after a fight, or winning the guy, etc. Is there no chemistry at all, or it's just not intense? r/datingoverforty. Medical Traffic 1585 says, men of different generations. Interested to hear views of both women's experience with dating different generations of men and different generations of men's outlook towards sex/relationships. I've recently started dating at age 41. Last dating experiences were in my early 20s with young men the same age. They were after sex, generally speaking, and getting themselves to finish. That was it. This has been my experience with the few men I dated and then married. I met a 33-year-old man who is just so different than what I've grown accustomed to. He communicates well, is thoughtful, upfront, mature, is so comfortable to be around, and I really like him. We had dinner, movie, and fooled around for hours in ways I've never experienced before. No sex, but we got naked, kissed, and really enjoyed ourselves. He purposely didn't come because he wanted me to first. Gosh. Anyway, is he a unicorn, or is this because he's a younger generation? Fincher Freddy says, that would be the guy, not the generation. That is someone who wants to enjoy the experience and make sure their partner does too. Nomad Soul says, I don't think it's generational. It's the man. I've slept with enough men of varying generations to know that a lot of men are simply selfish and ignorant about women's orgasms. But there are also the real men who want two-way sex and want the woman to be fully satisfied. These are the real men who don't just use you as a literal hole and know what a woman's orgasm actually feels like and looks like. They are the ones who don't think sex is over just because he finished. I've been with some fantastic lovers, and they're not just from a certain generation. Enjoy the real men. Edit to at, once you meet a man that cares about your pleasure and really knows what he's doing, you'll never go back. I feel sorry for women who are stuck with bad partners and have told me their partner never made them orgasm after years. Ladies, don't settle for less when you can have amazing. Blimiadsm says, ladies should always come first. And second or third if they have a rapid turnaround. It's purely the guy though. Some are in for themselves, whereas others, me included, take great pleasure in giving pleasure. Celine Digen says, I found that, in my limited anecdotal experience, men of older generations were raised with a perception of masculinity that didn't serve them. Take it like a man could be emotionally unavailable and just bring home the bacon, for example. As much as you work on yourself, that upbringing really sticks. It seems like younger generations were raised to lean into their whole selves a lot more. Clover 426 says, Well, I'm 40, and I'd say I'm of the same generation as a 30-year-old lol. But anyway, generally speaking, ideas about equality, women are human beings not just as receptacles, and female sexuality, sex isn't just for men, and about men getting off, have improved over time, so younger guys over average will be more enlightened. Sand Cannon says, it's the man, not the generation. Some guys were raised poorly and developed shitty ideas about partners and relationships, others weren't. That said, and to be that guy, I've dated women who got their orgasm and promptly rolled over and fell asleep, leaving me wondering what just happened. As a result, one of the first questions asked as the deed is progressing is if they're a single or multiple orgasm type. I modify my approach with that answer. Friendly Birthday 1445 says, no, I think those men are unicorns. I wish more men were like that. Samantha Samolala says, this is definitely specific to the guy and not to the generation. What you're describing is not uncommon. However, you didn't discuss his skill with facilitating your orgasm, so in that regard, he may turn out to be a more rare specimen. Time will tell. Sitamom says, nah, it's the guy. There are plenty of good guys in any generation, and plenty of bad. There are young guys who were raised on porn, and have really stupid ideas around sex, and those who don't. It's worth finding the pleasers they enjoy it as much as you do. Stoichia says, I'm in my 50s and women I've dated have told me similar stories about dudes my age. I'm sure there are cultural influences that could bias the averages one way or another, but by and large it's going to be an individual thing. This is also going to be contextual. Casual/one night stands are probably going to be less invested in the benefits of a wonderful shared experience. r/datingoverforty. Daddy says, turning 40 in 2 weeks and can't wait to not feel like an imposter here. I'm so tired of dating, I can't wait to be done with this crap. And by done I mean either partnered or perpetually single forever. Just tired of the process. The emotional roller coasters. The patterns and cycles and tendencies to fall for the same type of people. Tired of having to do the work to fix it all and still feel like I've got so far to go. Met someone amazing. Aligned. Tons in common. Liked them for all the right reasons. And we connected. Then we met in person and the date went pretty well. We had lots of interesting convos and several drinks and played board games and bar hopped and made out passionately. Then today she hit me. I'm not sure if I'm there romantically. Honestly, I get it and it's fine. I don't want to be with someone who needs convincing, but why do I get my hopes up? I feel like the other side of that coin is never getting hopes up but then being jaded and pessimistic, and being guarded without any vulnerability or authenticity. That sucks too. Why didn't they teach us how to navigate relationships in high school? I haven't used algebra a single time in my life. Not once. Poppy thing is what I say. Sorry for the vent. Low Wheel 3693 says, hey, you aren't old enough to be in here. Winston Leveb says, how many dates was this? It kind of sounds like just one. That's way too few to be as invested as you are. Back off the throttle, so to speak. Bcree84 says, haha. I turned 40 at midnight, I know the feeling. Clover 426 says, howdy fellow 84er, I turned 40 a month ago and sadly nothing has changed, still here. TK78 Take 2 says, you've got to figure out how to date while being detached from the outcome. In these earliest stages especially, don't text and communicate endlessly before meeting. Don't get attached, lean into the moment and have a good time. It doesn't go anywhere. That's okay, see what's next. It's all about mindset and checking in with yourself. Don't think about it like two sides to a coin. but rather a spectrum, a line, and you can fall on that line anywhere you want if you put your mind to it. Lee 862R says, so I'm in a similar boat with someone now. She wants casual and all I can muster is something casual at this point. That's not why my situation is similar. Your first date seems all the way romantic to me. Even in my casual thing now, I still conflate the two. I enjoy my time with this other person, but if we were in a romantic relationship, that date like you described would feel the same. At 43 I can't tell the difference between romantic and casual most times. Kulsal says, read that she wants casual and you were hoping she's the one. What will go wrong if you first listen to why she wants casual and, based on that, either tell or not tell her that let's give a trial period of 3 months and see how it goes? I'm guessing you want to date her exclusively, both ways. If so, be sure you discuss that as well. Obviously one person can't impose on another. So see where that discussion goes. Good luck. It's possible that you found a good match, and if you are patient it may work out in the long run. Or it's equally possible that you will soon see red flags and run away from there. So keep both possibilities in mind and proceed slower than your past experiences. Kakopoli says, don't lie. You've used algebra. Like a sloth says, I don't think the trick is to disconnect. The trick for you is to be excited, and then, if it doesn't work out, you then want to be able to recover more easily, that is. Resilience. What I avoid is getting over-invested in someone I haven't met. I'm not messaging for weeks. Meet ASAP and find out what's there. Then, if I don't feel it's a hell yeah from the other person, and also me OFC, then it's unlikely to be a long-term relationship, and I'll adjust accordingly. Also, I've stopped saying things like I should have this figured out by 40, etc. What's the point of saying that kind of thing to yourself? What does it achieve? Just makes you feel crap. Cut that out, you are where you are. You are making steps forward, learning about yourself and your needs. That's part of what life's about, I think. Good luck. Slafapism says, I'm turning 40 in a couple months. I feel much more at home in this sub than the dating over 31. I left a partner of 7 years and entered app world on July 20th, 2019, and it's been a nightmare. I've met the most emotionally unhealthy people I've ever known and had so many negative experiences and bad dates, serial daters, players, liars. I had a 2.5 years painful relationship with an avoidant man who dumped me a month before my 38th birthday after lying that he wanted to get married. I've had 3 emotionally intense false start relationship attempts over the past 2 years. One was cheating, one was another dismissive avoidant, and the third ended up being married. Lord, it was hard. I cried and gave up, and built up a little bit of stamina to keep pushing on. r/datingoverforty. Rocket GRRL says, when they stop communicating with you, but reach out 2 months later? I met a man on eHarmony in mid-December. We had a few chats on the app, exchanged numbers, and then had a pretty good 3-hour phone conversation with plans to meet up sometime in the coming weeks. We texted a few times around Christmas, and then the last I heard from him was the first week in January. This man just texted me again for the first time since early January. He offered absolutely no explanation for the gap in communication. He basically said, hey, I'd decided to not pursue this man because he basically dropped me for 2 months with no contact and no explanation. That is not okay to me. It makes me feel like I was a plan B, or that he's too busy to actually spend time dating. He'll probably reply with a funny thanks, but no thanks, and move on. Curious what you all do/have done in this situation? Stankonia Born says, I think that's called a zombie. When they ghost you then come back to life. 7 Amy says, don't even reply. Nomad Soul says. He was bored, or his other prospects didn't work. I wouldn't even reply or entertain people like this. Especially since you guys never even met. Hixenhut says. The old boomerang, don't even respond tbh. Throwaway dating 2289 says. Do whatever you want. I've found that most people come back around. There is no time limit. I have guys reaching out from 20 plus years ago. Caroline Bentley says. I would say nothing. People throw out these vague nothing messages just to test the water and see if you'll reply out of politeness/desperation. Answer that unspoken question with an unspoken not today, jackass. Try anything 2 times says. I only even consider seeing a boomerang if they provide a reasonable explanation and a sincere apology. I know ghosting is awful. But so is telling someone you met someone else around the same time and want to pursue the other person. That doesn't make me plan B. It means it didn't work out with someone, and when they were available again, they thought of me. If you make a friend, while one of you has a partner, but they later break up, are you never allowed to date them because you are plan B? If someone is divorced, or even widowed, isn't everyone they date after that a potential plan B, C, D, etc? Stop thinking like that. It's about meeting the right people at the right time. If you don't want to give them your time, don't. But stop with the plan B stuff. ZTA 1979 says. Definitely pass on this guy, he ghosted you. Excellent North 3724 says. I don't have a very high bar lol. I have done this, minus the 3-hour phone conversation, but texted back and forth and then disappeared. You are plan B, possibly even C. But he hasn't physically met you yet, so technically you weren't anything really. That might be the difference for me. If I haven't met someone in person, we have not met. But I do struggle with boundaries on some levels, so you might be getting better advice from others. Savulo says. Ignore him. Porkborg says. You were on deck. If that offends you, then you don't have to step up. But most people are put on deck. Mental Astronomer 314 says. Nah, he was clearly chasing another prospect which didn't work out and now he's trying you again. Swerve. Don't be anyone's second choice. Regular B7177 says. When men would do this to me, they did it a lot, and even though I've been off the market for a year, I still get a hey, or, where you been? I miss you about once a month, I would tell them. You chose to spin the block, so please, keep on going. I have no patience for wishy-washy. Psychologicalplum 961 says. For me, it's always been a toss-up between who's this? And just not answering. I mainly did the latter, because the few times I did the former they actually just reminded me who they were, and still tried to continue the conversation, which I had no interest in lol. Of course them doing this means you were plan B, which they are revisiting after plan A didn't pan out. Nope, not happening. Endless Pie says. I'd like to think I'd do what you decided, but my inbox was on the quiet side. r/datingoverforty. Sea Lion says. A little embarrassed, tell me it's okay. 41F, divorced, 20 years abusive marriage. I haven't been brave enough to date to try the apps, but I did go to a party. I'm an introvert so I'm proud of myself. I had a new dress and I looked great. I chatted with a lot of people. It was nice to know I still could do it. Other friends were suggesting I try dating, and I commented another party guest with whom I'd enjoyed chatting earlier was nice looking and seemed nice. But I now think he might be around 10 years younger than me. I didn't realize, and now I'm a little embarrassed. I haven't thought about other men in so long, and I'm not too good at guessing age anyway. Ugh. To be clear, all I did was chat and shake hands and mention to someone else that he seems nice. Still. Last time I thought about dating, pretty much everyone was older than me. Edit. So many kind Redditors here busting my chops and making me feel better. Thank you, I needed it. Also, even a few months ago I wondered if it'd ever be okay again after the abuse. Would I ever want to be attracted to anyone, or was I broken? But I'm happy I'm noticing men in a positive way. Even if I never date or have a relationship again, it's nice to know I'm still human in. Agentaprite says, it's okay, no need to be embarrassed. I can't tell the ages of anyone anymore. Everyone under 25 looks 12 and everyone over 30 seems older and more mature than me. As FWB says, what is wrong with what you did? The Ike one says, you're embarrassed because you shook hands with someone that might be younger than you? Bakintidi says, my partner is 4 years younger than me. Not much of a difference. But to both of us, he's still the wise grown up in the relationship. I look up to him. Age is nothing at this point. Thloshana Herbsk says, you're putting yourself out there. No reason to be embarrassed. Blue Light Special 83 says, that's a grown ass adult man. Clover 426 says, as someone who has spent a good amount of time around many men in their 40s, they are checking out and talking about how hot 18 to 20-year-old women look amongst themselves. A 30-year-old woman would be venturing into well she looks good for her age territory for many of them. Point being, do not be embarrassed for thinking a grown-ass 30-year-old man is attractive. You wouldn't think twice about a man your age thinking a 30-year-old woman was attractive, so why should it be different? BVT40 says, I was in an abusive marriage for 14 years. Got divorced at 41 and dated men younger than 31. I just wanted to have some fun. It was great. Funcease says, it's better than okay. You went to a party and almost flirted. If you don't want to date someone that young, that's okay too. Pilacine says, you're good. Chakalata Citagiral 82 says, no need to be embarrassed. Good on you for getting out there, and there's nothing wrong with going younger. Younger guys can be so much fun, and I haven't found them to be any less mature than 40 plus men. Mammoth Exam 1354 says, I'm so happy for you. Sounds like you had a good time. Congratulations on getting out of an abusive relationship too. It is not that easy. I personally think 41 to 31 is not bad age difference, but obviously you should always do what you feel is right. Dang Battleship says, you're doing great, just try not to stress and keep putting yourself out there when you feel good about doing so. Stand Up Firedancer says, it takes time after divorce, and more so after an abusive relationship. It's great you went out, felt good about yourself, and mingled with others. I understand the safety of standing by a wall. As for meeting men, take it slow, and be guided by your gut. I hope you're doing well now, enjoy this next phase. Sarah Mamabara says, I love dating younger now. I'm vibrant, look young, very active, and take care of myself. I need someone who keeps up with me physically, emotionally, and intellectually. If he can do that, doesn't matter the age. Same for you. Needleman says, as a 40 female, believe me when I say a lot, if 30-year-old men love older women. Shampoo Bottle Reader says, in this context given ages, go for it. Nothing even remotely weird with a 10-year difference when he's 30 and you're 41. Bonus points for not meeting on a dating app. Exact Meaning 7050 says, Catherine McPhee's husband is 74 and she is 40. And they have a kid. Bloke 81 says, That's such an easy thing to fix. Stop overthinking. That 10 years younger kid would be freaking lucky to get to go on a date with you. Don't feel embarrassed because you thought a guy was hot and nice to talk to. Age is a load of rubbish anyway, after about 29 lol. We are all dumbasses until about that age. Or some such bullshit, I dunno lol. Own it, enjoy him and get what you want from it. r/datingoverforty. Working Fig 3473 says, am I broken? So me and this guy have been talking for about a week and I've known him for about 6 to 8 months Kaoka, so we talked passing and outside on breaks. Recently he just got out of something that we could relate very deeply on. He said from the beginning he didn't want anything and I understood, but I couldn't help but start to catch feelings after he went out of his way to do nice things, asked to hang out almost every day, cuddled, did intimate things, but not sex, more like cuddling, holding each other tight, scratching head etc. Well, I told him I was starting to feel something, and then suddenly it was we should stop hanging out, because obviously you'll catch feelings. When I won't. I truly don't understand how people can lay next to you like that, and do intimate things almost every day for a week, and not expect to feel anything. I feel embarrassed. I feel so deeply and quickly, and am so in touch with my emotions, like what's wrong with me? Is a week of hanging out almost every day too fast to be catching feelings? I just feel unlovable. Endless Pie says, he said from the beginning he didn't want anything, and I understood. Did you, though? You're wired differently than he is, and that's okay. Nobody is broken here. That just means the combination of you and him isn't a good one if you plan to spend time cuddling. Miss O'Shea says, when people tell you who they are, believe them. Lord Moram says, I don't get how people do that either, but that's where the culture is now. If someone tells you he doesn't want a relationship, it's on you if you go ahead and engage in what, to you, are intimate things that build feelings. Kinda sucks, but it certainly doesn't mean you're broken. It just means you need to be more aware of how it works, so you don't get involved in that kind of thing, and assume that his actions, cuddling, etc. mean his words weren't true, or are no longer in effect. Now when someone says no relationship, you have to hold him to that until he clearly retracts it. Courtsoon says, some people find comfort in casual, cuddling type touch with another person much the way they would with a pet. For example, there's no romantic or sexual intimacy in it for them. For others, there must be some kind of emotional intimacy, friendship or otherwise, before any of the physical type, platonic or otherwise. Still others don't do touch at all. This Kaoka was very clear about boundaries when you confessed that your feelings were shifting towards/over that line. Those boundaries were, rightly, reinforced. That does not mean either of you is broken or damaged or wrong. You're humans who are not compatible for what you feel you want. Captain Mayway says, please do not buy into a broken narrative. You are not broken, just human. Who doesn't want to feel like you belong, like you're someone's one and only? We are all wired for love and connection. Some of us just struggle more, but we all struggle in this life. Personally speaking, I've been able to lay down next to another person and not catch any feelings. Some of us can have sex without any attachment. The important thing is that we know what we have the capacity for and know what our deal breakers are. You did what many are afraid to do, know and speak your truth. His response is incompatible with what you want. It hurts, but at least you know. You are not unlovable, this dude just wasn't the right fit. Quillhunter57 says, you pursued this hoping you would change his mind, and this is a great lesson. Don't try out for a role that he clearly stated he didn't want. You are not broken, but you have to assess what someone says they have to offer and decide if you want to continue on those grounds. Personally, I think he sounds like a bit of a douche, but learn how your head and heart works to avoid this in the future. You can only change you. No amount of proving what a great girlfriend you can be means he wants that. I'm sorry, I think the whole thing sucks. Ms. Eponine says, anytime I see the am I broken question, my first thought is always, yes. We're all a little broken. We didn't get to this stage of life unscathed, probably. The best we can hope for is to find someone who's willing to meet us where we are. Someone whose broken pieces align with ours. Unicornsndrund says, being wanted feels good. You gave him time and attention and that probably felt good to him. Could it be because he was emotionally unavailable that made him more attractive? Someone with better boundaries may not have jumped into all the intimacy that you did with him. It's good that he took a step back because his actions were not necessarily matching his words. Or he can have that kind of intimacy without being emotionally invested. Either way, you were getting emotionally invested and he wasn't ready for that. Maybe take some time to look at your own behaviors despite the obvious red flags with this guy. r/datingoverforty. Jdel168 says, smoking weed? I have seen a good share of profiles basically say, if you smoke weed swipe left. I don't see, if you drink swipe left. I have seen alcoholics swipe left. Where do you fall on this? Is weed an instant no? Is alcohol okay? How much is okay? Shadowig says, if you drink and smoke to escape, it's a no for me. If you need to drink daily, it's a no for me. If you need to smoke daily, it's a no for me. Futuristic and says, I'm the last person my colleagues and casual acquaintances would expect to be a daily cannabis user, but I honor those requests to swipe left. As someone with a neurodivergence that doctors often treat with amphetamine, cannabis seems quite tame to me, but I recognize it has other meanings and associations for some folks. I'm not likely to see something related to substances in a profile that's an automatic swipe left for me when everything else seems like a possible match. Winston Leveb says, weed is pretty much an auto left swipe for me. I work in a zero tolerance industry, and if something gets accidentally left in my car, my job would be at risk. My vehicle is subject to search as soon as I enter the property. Can't really risk it. Lumpy Maximus says, M46. I use cannabis medicinally. I also work in the industry. I don't ever really consume alcohol at all. I do mention it on my profile. I was a single parent for a long time and didn't really date. I recently went out with a woman and the fact that I didn't drink actually made her uncomfortable. I guess my point is, almost anything can be a deal breaker for some reason. I honestly only even get a reply all maybe once a week or less, so perhaps it's a big one. Realistic Vasidbai says, smoke weed every day. Respectfully. Southern Space 7614 says, weed isn't a deal breaker for everyone, just like alcohol isn't. It's about personal limits and compatibility. What's okay for you? Stereotypical Bobby says, socially I've smoked it. Still do now and again. But probably a lot more in my younger years. I guess there's a fine line between people who use it recreationally now and again and full stoner spending every day making plans, but never actually leaving the couch. Because I know both types of people. And you can't really tell who's who from a dating profile. Wouldn't necessarily put me off if someone did use it. I have more of a problem with people who are heavy drinkers, to be honest. Respond Opposite says, weed smells terrible and just a whiff of it turns my stomach. Not to mention how stupid stoned people can be. No thanks. Not interested in daily drinkers either. Give me a guy who has 2 beers at the hockey game or a couple glasses of wine at dinner, sure. S3RNDPT says, I use an edible to sleep every night. Not a huge fan of smoking it, but I wouldn't judge someone who does. We probably wouldn't be compatible, though. Mastodon Fit says, I would prefer weed over drinking, smoking and or 20 meds. Even though I don't smoke it, but once every 5 years. Kyriospagimus says, I don't drink or smoke so it doesn't align with my lifestyle. I prefer people who are clear-minded and doesn't rely on substances to cope with anxiety or whatever. Elup says, weed is a requirement. Ogwoman says, weed is a must. Thebra the Left Behind says, I use it for anxiety and you wouldn't be able to tell if I was on it or not. Main Inflation 4945 says, the smell of weed is an absolute turn off for me. It's a cross between mothballs, roadkill and rotting fruit. I do not want to be near anyone or anything that smells like it. I've actually moved to get away from it. r/datingoverforty. Lajobitursida 197 says, politely telling a date I'm not interested. I had a coffee date this morning with a woman I met from Bumble. I'm 41/M and she is 44/F. Actually the first date I've had via Bumble. She seems like a perfectly pleasant woman, but I'm not physically attracted to her at all unfortunately. Her profile used rather old photos, and upon meeting her, she looks painfully thin and emaciated, to the point I'm fairly sure she may have or had at some point some kind of eating disorder. Obviously, I didn't say this to her. I pride myself on courtesy and respect for other people's time, so how can I politely tell her I won't be taking it any further? Mjuckplister says, thanks for meeting, didn't feel the spark, but lovely meeting you and take care. Mjuckplister says, or don't say anything and see if she texts. Mushka30 says, not sure why this is downvoted. There's no need to reject someone who's not interested either. Harry Dean Lerner says, hey baby, welcome to Dumpsville population you Homer Simpson usually works. Wise Coyote 1522 says, just tell her you enjoyed meeting her and had a nice time chatting, but you just did not feel a romantic connection and wish her the best in her search. Author Places says, you just met for coffee once, there is absolutely no need to follow up if you're not interested. There's a good chance you're not her dreamboat either. Thaway071743 says, one coffee date. I have had so many first dates with mutual silence after, and I never felt I needed to send a rejection text, nor did I suffer in the absence of one. Dutch Lob says, how would you like to hear it from someone? Tell her like that. Nicolectomy says, RN here and I also struggle with an. Do not ever make any assumptions about eating disorder diagnosis based on the way someone looks. My clinical background is in general surgery and acute GI surgery, so many of my PTS with Crohn/UC and colorectal malignancy appear very emaciated. She could have went through cancer treatment for all you know. I personally lost a lot more weight during the divorce process because of the stress. It could be from a variety of complex medical conditions. An assumption like an eating disorder is ignorant and harmful. It's okay to not be attracted to her, but leave your medical DX out of it. Camille Tots says, there's no need, unless she expressed or expresses interest. Pelefire101 says, it's perfectly fine not to say anything at all. It's not ghosting. Ghosting is when someone reaches out to you and you don't reply. However, if this person doesn't write to you and you don't write to them, you just have mutual agreement on not communicating further. Perhaps she also didn't feel the spark, and seeing it in words from you would only hurt. Quillhunter57 says, just thank her for the meeting and tell her that, although you enjoyed the coffee, you don't feel a romantic connection. No need to go into any further detail. Raven Kindness says, both not reaching out after a med date is the ideal situation. If she asks for another date, Just say that you didn't feel the spark, but it was nice to meet her. Zero need to explain why. Playful Map 8866 says, just say you did not feel a connection and wish her the best. Plus she really should not have deceived you with old photos. I don't get why anyone does that. Camille Tots says, Op, why do you assume she's interested in you? Wait, he was asking for relationship counseling referrals 2 months ago. Litera Mike says, so much advice to say nothing. Yeah, it's only one coffee date, but saying nothing just perpetuates the lack of communication, politeness, and treating people as disposable we are moving towards these days in the dating world. A simple hey, it was really nice meeting you, but I didn't feel a romantic spark. Best of luck, or something along those lines, is what I say. The vast majority of women, in my experience, have appreciated it. Same goes for me hearing it from someone who wasn't feeling me. That has also resulted in platonic friendships. r/datingoverforty. Hollison79 says, I've been on hold for 2 days, and I'm just going to be single forever. It's as horrible as everyone here has described. The one guy I've actually liked barely messages, and has been single for 8 years. Everything seems like a red flag. The apps keep trying to send me people in Canada. I'm a nigh, and I'm just too old for this nonsense. But you know, I don't want to be alone forever, so I'll just get out my shovel and keep treasure hunting. I was just being kind of snarky and dramatic, and I guess it didn't translate the way I thought it would. I know it's only been 2 days. I did not expect to meet Prince Charming already. I get that I'm not everyone's cup of tea and vice versa. I was just surprised at the ratio of creeps to people who actually seem to be interested in finding their person. JMLJBWC says, why is being single for 8 years a red flag? They just haven't found their person yet. Maybe they won't ever, but I wouldn't not date someone because they've been single for 8 years. Different strokes, I guess. Quillhunter57 says, use an app that has a distance filter that works well. I use Tinder for that reason. Well, one of the reasons. It has only been 2 days. I don't know why you expected to get on an app and be partnered by the end of the week, but your expectations are unreasonable. You are going to match with some duds. You will also be someone else's dud. That's life. It is an introduction to lonely people are still people. Catinatardus11 says, why would being single for 8 years be a red flag? Maybe they just haven't met the right person? Why would they message a lot if they haven't even met you yet? Also, 2 days really isn't giving it enough time to say it's horrible or not horrible. There's good people out there. A lot of us not doing old. A lot of us are doing old. Setting location parameters will take care of the sending you matches in Canada. There's literally a setting in every app for how far away you are, what country, etc. Linnies23 says, it's going to take time. For me it was 2 years on and off, and on the apps I had a few false start situationships during that time and wasn't actively looking, but I met the most amazing needle in the haystack. Be ruthless and don't feel bad about rejecting second dates if someone is not a good fit. It's like buying a dress for a fancy occasion. You can't just try on one or buy the first thing you see. But when you find that special dress you'll be so glad you held out. Sparkless Glitter says, it's so depressing. I get it. I just broke down and paid on Bumble so I can see all the people who have liked me. I feel like I get a lot fewer likes than other women I know. And most of the people who have liked me are not very good looking and not people I would be excited about talking to. I feel like I must be the most unattractive woman on the app. Lefty Banana 75 says, being single 8 years isn't necessarily a red flag. I didn't date for 10 to 11 years after my divorce. Did you ask why? He could have a solid reason like preferring to be abstinent while raising a child or anything else taking precedence over dating. Lidabelle12 says, OMG, I just downloaded the apps today and I was browsing through Hinge and Bumble and god is this depressing for me lol. I think this is just a bad month to be on the apps. Holy crap, old is a nightmare. Metaversalis says, took me a few years, but it's a shit show IRL and online so. Tai Jaff says, so you're judging people before you even get to know them. You are the problem with old. Get over yourself. No one is perfect. We all have flaws. If you're looking for perfection, give up now. East Metro Golf says, 2 days? Onia Fox says, it's only been 2 days. Chill and have fun. Justanitha Peliguai says, you've put in 2 days of effort and are going to give up. Yep, you will be single forever. Online dating is a numbers game. Talk to 100 people, get 5 first dates, and maybe 1 second date. Maybe you can be more discerning and get 5 first dates with 50 conversations, or 20, but it's talking to a bunch of different people. If you are giving up after 2 days, you really didn't have a realistic expectation of what it would take. Did you expect Prince Charming on swipe 5? Epistemicrant 587 says, okay, so yeah, it's horrible. I started in April and matched with a guy mid-May. But we are hitting it off. I was very jaded, but I think this might stick. I'm really happy. r/datingoverforty. LazyAd7637 says, 47 female, my BF of over 2.5 years broke up with me. He said he doesn't feel for me what he needs to feel. I'm very sad. I thought we were good together. Has never been in a long-term relationship before, which in hindsight is something I should have seen as a red flag. I felt like something wasn't right for months. I'm scared my brain isn't going to handle the ambiguity well. What did I do wrong? We got along pretty well. Was I not exciting enough? Heartbroken tonight. It'll be a while before I date again. Suraprevolutionary 12 says, I'm so sorry. Take your time. Healing is important. I've been processing the loss of my first and only post-divorce relationship for the last 3 months. Some days I think I'm doing well. Then there are days like today. Hang in there. App Manga says, what did I do wrong? We got along pretty well. Was I not exciting enough? You might have done anything wrong. He said it was about his feelings. You can't control those. Wishing you the best. Sanatlikitis says, oh, so sorry to hear. If my GF broke up with me, it'd be harder than when my marriage ended. Chicken 1000 says, so when you were feeling that something wasn't right for months, there's a good chance he was feeling the same thing. No reason to keep going forward if the wheels keep falling off. Find the things that you do well and the things you like doing. And when you are awesome at being yourself, the guy that loves that will fall in love with you. I don't even know what I'm trying to say. Except for you are fine. Getting hurt hurts. But also, feeling good feels good. You'll find a new good guy soon. Don't get hung up on this old one. Lister80 says, I'm so sorry, it's never easy. Can I make a podcast recommendation on here? Hopefully I can. Do you fking mind search for the episodes on breakups or closure? Very good stuff. Vanzant says, my GF did the same thing to me. We never had a disagreement about anything, and one day she just said that I wasn't compatible and we just see life differently without any further explanation. I did get the I enjoyed our time together and everything was real talk. It hurt really bad, and it took me a few weeks to not have many heart attacks. I was like you, trying to constantly figure out what I could have said or did wrong. I felt so much toxic shame. I went through the exercise of writing down things that I appreciated about myself and what I appreciated about other people, then all the good qualities that I offer and the things I give to other people. That really helped me out of the slump. Slight following 728 says, he did you a favor. He didn't lead you on. Would you rather him lie to you and continue to be with you just to make you happy? Or would you rather someone love you as much as you love them? John Frick in Rambo says, I, 48 meters, just got broken up with after almost 8 years with my partner, 33F, about 4 months ago. At the time I felt blindsided and shocked and awed and heartbroken and all of the things you're most likely feeling now. I'm feeling a lot better now, and the further I'm from the relationship the more I realize that, in fact, things hadn't been super great between us for quite a while, since COVID probably. Our relationship had run its course, and I now believe that we stuck together out of habit and the fear of being alone. Sometimes, most of the time, it's as simple as you and them are great people, but just not great together, and that's completely cool. It's normal and it's just life. Breakups suck no matter if it's 6 months or 8 years. They just do. No matter how the relationship looks in this moment, they used to be your best friend, confidant, lover, and ally. It's intimate stuff, and of course it's going to hurt and be confusing if it ends. I have good news for you though. You ready? You're going to be just fine, and so are they. It's going to sting like hell, and that's fine too. Embrace it. Don't try to push your feelings away, just bask in the pain and endure the process. Take a few days to cry, overeat, lay in bed all day, don't shower, eat lots of candy and ice cream, and just feel it. Don't try to figure it out. Just accept it 100% and don't contact him, no matter what, for any reason. In a week or so, start to exercise and eat better and hang out with friends, even if you don't want to. If you have a therapist or access to therapy, get them on speed dial. Everything is just as it should be in this moment, my friend. P.S. You're just watching. Italgaby says, it doesn't mean that he doesn't love you or that you did anything wrong. Sometimes it's just not meant to be. r/datingoverforty. Dating Nooble Shelp says, fear of giving 100%. Random thought I want to get folks' feedback on. During my dating history, I know there are things I can improve on to be a better partner. For example, being more patient, giving, compassionate, supportive, and forgiving. I contribute part of reason why my relationships failed to my shortcomings. But what happens if I become all of those and a fantastic partner, only to find out it's still not enough? And how do I come back from that? The feeling that I gave it all and my best only to get bamboozled? And feeling stupid and hurt and extremely disappointed. I feel like I'll be closed up forever and never want to give my best self again as self-protection. So if it fails, it doesn't feel as bad. How do you get over that feeling so you can show up in a relationship with positive mindset and give your 100% without expecting a desired outcome? Thaway071743 says, I feel this, but I have settled into a place of accept me or don't, either way I'll live. I have been hurt and disappointed, and likely will be again, that someone didn't maybe like me as much as I liked them. Or treated me poorly in some way, intentionally or not. But I never don't show up when I'm in a relationship. And I'll keep showing up, because I know it's the only way I'll find someone who wants to show up with me. And the ones who don't want me? At this point I just get an Ike. Substantial and 4010 says, my nerd is showing, but my favorite Star Trek quote by Captain Picard that really stayed with me is, it is possible to commit no mistakes and still lose. Point that is not a weakness, that is life. Justanitha Peligai says, being able to say I gave it my all, but it didn't work out seems way better than at least I didn't really try. Majita Bazato says, I feel this way a lot. What helps me is remembering that nothing is ever guaranteed. It is better to give your absolute truth and best effort whenever you can. I would hate to have a relationship end because they didn't get the love I actually felt. If it goes to pot, or they take advantage of it, that's totally their damage and it only really reflects poorly on them. You can't crush yourself and not be authentic because they might be jerks. Peepsichological 1358 says, I'm going to try to say this as gently as possible. You're really missing the entire point. And that's actually good news for you. The point of dating is to find someone you are compatible with and who loves being around you as much as you love being around them. And no matter how amazing you are still not going to be compatible with everyone, no matter how much you like them. It is not possible for you to be so perfect that all of your relationships are good going forward. The key is improving yourself so that you like yourself and trust yourself enough to know that whatever happens, you're strong enough that you're going to be okay. You are not your feelings. You are not your thoughts. If you can learn to let those flow through you without blocking them or getting stuck on them, you will no longer be afraid of them, even if they are very uncomfortable. I've been divorced and it sucked, but I knew I would be okay, even if it was really painful. And I was right. I'm okay. I'm even better than okay now. Let go of your attachment towards how any relationship is going to go and stay present. While you are present, do you like who you are around them? Do you enjoy them? If yes, keep seeing them. If not, kindly part ways. Those two things need to keep being a yes, rather than just getting a fix from being around someone, because you're so lonely and anxious when they are not around. Tower Shimp says, I'm in the process of divorcing, and I do feel this way sometimes. What I try to tell myself, though, is to see it as a positive. I have no regrets in my marriage, because I was always honest and tried my best to make it work, to the point where my stepdad told me there's nothing you could have done different to change her behaviors, that ultimately led to us splitting up. At least I can walk away knowing that I did all I could, and that's all I can control. I can't control her choices, but I can control when to say I've had enough. Depth of Samizdad says, isn't the answer to this that it's just the normal risk everyone runs when entering into a long-term relationship? There are no guarantees of anything. We put a lot of pressure on ourselves, our partners and our relationships to be an achievement and locked. But they are not a milestone that, once reached, you never have to worry about again. They're a relationship, always evolving and often only meant to last for a specific chapter of life. I think the answer to how do we keep this from being disappointing is to reframe your expectations for what a relationship is. Standard 1-523 says, but what happens if I become all of those and a fantastic partner, only to find out it's still not enough? And how do I come back from that? I think that your mindset is a bit foreign to mine. I don't really have a problem moving to 100% pretty readily. But I don't feel that I'm giving 100% to win or to keep them. If we don't work out, I consider it an incompatibility. Whether it's of personality, relationship goals, financial philosophies, etc. doesn't matter. Compatibility isn't a failing. Not all people will/can be happy together. Sure, if it was a two people left on Earth, I'd be so much more open, but still some people, where it would be best to go our separate ways. I would also worry that your version of giving 100% will not involve being authentically you, but rather minimizing yourself to be good enough for someone else. That's a dangerous mindset to leave your needs unmet and you unhappy at the cost of keeping someone around. It's never going to be that 100% wasn't enough. It will only be we were incompatible. From me. Related to that, when you're early into dating, I bet that you worry about if they like you. Don't. Worry instead about if you like them. Be you. If they move on too. That's all for this video. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe.